Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation. It is Monday night all over again, and I really don't want to talk about the football game because the Bengals messed up. But let's talk about halftime and how great that was, right? And Snoop, oh my God. I stood up the whole time for 15 minutes, and I knew, wait a minute, I even knew the words to the song, right? I didn't know, you know what I mean? Because I was in my era, right? But it was just so good. So hats off to, wasn't it good, y'all? Hats off to, all the OGs, to Mary J. Blige, I know she fell down and couldn't get up, but that's okay, I know somebody had to help her, but she looked really, really good.
It was a good angle.
It was a good angle, wasn't it? I know, and they panned away. Somebody came and got her up, but honey, she did such a good job. So anyway, thank you for the NFL for looking out for the older people in the industry who've been around a very, very long time. And I guess hats off to the LA Rams because they won. But anyway, I'm going to move on for that. And my Valentine guest tonight is Mr. Charles Rice. He's a trailblazing member of the LBGTQ community. He's a registered nurse and an AIDS awareness advocate. And if I can ever convince him to write a book, he will become an author. And we're going to start working on that in 2022. So welcome, Charles, for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I would love to get you the author in front of your name. That would be really, really nice. But you might not be ready for that tell-all, right?
But I like the sound of that. The author.
Right. Arthur Charles Rice, comma R.N. That's
yes.
That sounds sexy. I like it. Zoom In on a Fresh Conversation is sponsored by Eilid's Diamonds LLC, brought to you by Milton McCulloch, author of Love and Emancipation, L.D. Robinson, owner and operator of Ladero Press, and A Dante Production. A Dante Production presents Jazz Through the Ages on February 26, 2022 at the Ormond Beach Theater in Ormond Beach with Chris Clark and friends. If you have any questions for Charles, please leave them in the chat room. And this conversation is being recorded. So Charles, please just give us a brief introduction about yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. And thank you all for tuning in. My family, my friends, my stars and my starlets that know all about Lady Charles. I am Rice, and I am from DeLand, Florida. I was born and raised in DeLand, Florida, and then I moved to DeLeon Springs when I was about 11 years old and went to school up there at Taylor Middle High School. And then after that high school, I went to Miami for a few years, and then I found my way back home.
And so let's talk about and I'm sure at that time, you didn't think you were making history in so many ways, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. But I wanted, and this is a question everybody wants to ask, but we're not going to dwell on it. We're just going to answer that question so no one has to ask it to you. Listen, were you introduced to your sexual orientation, or do you believe you were born that way?
I have to say that I absolutely was born this way. I can remember as a little boy, sometimes we say that a little girl, but I can remember being little and just being naturally drawn to the feminine toys and the feminine, hanging out with the girls more so than the boys. And that was long before I knew what sex was, long before I knew what gay or straight or anything was. I just knew what was naturally to me. And I was naturally drawn to girl things. So I do believe, and honestly, wholeheartedly feel as though I was born this way.
And so, listen, you're 6'3"?
Yes, I am.
A Black man in a mixed community first, and then an all Black community next. When did you decide to accept the fact that you were gay?
Well, I decided to accept the fact that I was gay around 15, 16. And I know I carry this so well, but a lot of people will be shocked to know that I didn't want to be gay. When really discovering this and understanding these feelings and these emotions it was not something that I wanted. I remember 15, 16 years old, like I said, we were living out in DeLeon Springs. Going through this time, I contemplated suicide.
Oh, yeah.
I prayed and I asked God to remove it from me. But then once I seen that that was who I was, I went back to that same God and I prayed for him to make me be the best gay person I could be. And that is when I think I really, truly accepted that, my sexuality.
And I didn't, this is not one of the questions, but do you think it would have been easier if you were 5'7", petite?
White.
Well,
I do. No,
right. Let's put it out there.
It's harder.
Yeah.
It's harder in our community because of the ways that we raise our boys up to be hard, to be strong. Don't show no feminine. Don't show no weakness. You can't cry. So that is instilled in us from a young age, and it's harder in our community.
So who was the first person you told?
Actually, the first, I can't really say the first person I really came out to, but I remember when I came out, it was in school. It was during Mr. McFarland class during high school. And it's so weird because I had a crush on Mr. McFarland, but it was one of those days where they was like, come on, Charles, just say it. Just say it. And I said, you know what? I'm gay. I'm gay. And honestly, in those words, I felt so good uttering it out of my mouth. I felt a relief, a pressure. I felt better about myself, and it was received very well amongst my classmates. A lot of them were like, oh, we already knew. We was just waiting on you. So, yeah, I came out first in school in Mr. McFarland's class.
Tell me about how you told, was that your grandmother that you spent most of your life with?
Yes. When I came out to my grandmother, it was, and I say that because she, in all honesty, was the only person whose opinion
that mattered to you. Right, exactly.
That was all that mattered to me.
Exactly.
Her acceptance, her loving me, all that. That was the only one that mattered. But when I came out to her, I did it strategically. She was actually at work. It was a Friday night. And I said, I was ready. I said, I'm going to call her at work. She can't get too upset. She can't get, too out the chain with it. And I told her at work. And then later on, we discussed it a little bit. But I think for her, it was hard because she was dealing with issues of, did she do something wrong? Did she baby me too much, and stuff like that. But I think once she came to grips with it had nothing to do with her, then everything, eventually worked itself out.
And she's passed, right?
No, my grandmother, she's still here.
Man, that's wonderful. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are blessed.
I am blessed.
Beyond measure, right?
Yeah.
Did she ever go shopping with you? I mean, did you all ever get to that point?
She wasn't
going to do that. She wasn't born.
She wasn't, you got to go in with baby steps with her. Now, could I do it? Yes. Then could I do it? No.
And what was her biggest fear? I think her biggest fear was, if I remember, she was fearful of you having to be in society.
It was the hard life that comes along with being labeled as gay. It's the stigma. It's the fear that, oh my God, he's gay, he's gonna catch AIDS, he's gonna die, he's gonna go.
No, you weren't gonna do that. I'll tell everybody you weren't gonna.
Right. But that is the fear sometimes, because I remember when I talked to my auntie in Miami, she was old school, she was my grandmother's sister. And what she had told me was, she said, I don't care about you being gay. Just don't go out there and catch none of those diseases. And see, that's the thing that we have to change the mindset that homosexuality is always just connected straight with HIV. Yes, it's high in our community, but that's not what defines us as a community.
No, but it's a fear. It's a fear for people who don't understand the community, right?
Right.
And so, it's still an educational process.
Yeah.
Even though everybody says, oh, I know, it's like saying, I got a friend that's Black or I got a friend that's gay, but you have no idea.
You have no idea.
You have no idea. And so Tell me about the first time you wore a skirt, because you got good legs, right? So.
6'3", all legs.
Tell us about how and all that moving part. So you woke up one morning, because listen, you did it during a time where, people weren't doing it. They weren't
No,
wearing skirts to school and dresses to school and
no.
living their life the way they wanted to live it.
And I went to Taylor Middle High School, which is a very country high school.
Predominantly white.
Predominantly white and a
Right.
lot of country people.
Right.
So no, it was not an easy task. But the first time I actually dressed up for school was for homecoming. I had a 2-piece skirt set, and you couldn't tell me anything when I had that 2-piece skirt set. Oh, honey. Honey, you couldn't tell me nothing.
What color was the trouser?
It actually was red and
Red.
white.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
got it from my auntie in Miami. Yes.
That's
And I
too
wore
funny.
that 2-piece skirt set to the zipper wore out, honey.
And
But-
so you get to the dance, and no one says a word.
No one says a word. Of course, it's like, oh my gosh, there's Charles and things of that nature, but no one said a word because I was always cool and accepted by my peers. So it wasn't really too big of a thing then with the classmates.
With the classmates. And
With the
so, but the administration is a whole nother story. And we're going to get to that next. So you made national news when you decided to be a beautiful Black gentleman going to the prom in a 350 red designer dress.
Yes.
Tell me about that night. Because we see the picture of you getting out of the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
But tell me what you were going through before you got there.
Well, on my way there, I had fears because I had been threatened by the Ku Klux Klan that if I showed up, that they would bring harm to me. But I had very supportive classmates, that assured me that nothing was going to happen to me. But I was nervous, on my way there. It was like, did I do the right thing? Is this going to be okay? And I had those little, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't go, but I went, and it was the best thing. And I wouldn't change it for the world, because to be able to inspire so many people without knowing that you're inspiring people, I was just living my life.
You're making history.
Yes, and you don't even know that at the moment, but it was one of the best moments of my life, something that I will never forget.
When did you get the call from Jet Magazine?
Oh my gosh, that was a few weeks after prom. It was a few weeks after prom. They had told me that they see my story and they wanted to feature it in the magazine, which was awesome. And I love the magazine because that magazine that I'm in is the last magazine they have of TLC altogether.
Exactly.
So all of it right there is history in that one magazine.
And you said, what? Somebody called you and said, we want you to be, and what?
Well, they called and they said that they wanted to, feature me into their magazine, and they wanted to know what was going on. So of course I had to tell them a little bit about the story, which was quite funny because when this all started, it kind of started out like a little rebel.
Right.
Like,
rebel without a cause, right?
Yeah. School is not going to tell me what I can't do. So I actually called my friend Vicky, and we called the news journal on 3-way that day, and we talked to some people, and we didn't think nothing was going to happen. And I get to school the next day, and they have me on the inside of the news journal in the education part. And when we went with lunch that day, I had a couple of reporters stop and talk to me a little bit. But by the end of the day, the whole school was surrounded with news cameras. And I looked at my friend, I said, oh, y'all, my grandma gonna kick my butt. I said, my grandma's gonna kick my butt.
I know.
Yes, and so that was the kickoff. And when they would come to the house, because she would work 3 to 11, I would say, okay, y'all can come and do y'all stories in front of my house, but my grandma gets off at 11. Y'all have to be gone time she gets home.
Now, what I didn't know that you were on a major talk show. Who was that?
Well, they talked about me on Jay Leno.
Okay.
And I was on various radio shows via the phone, you know, of course, and stuff. A lot of the times when they were calling me, it was during school hours and stuff. So I had one teacher that would allow me to sneak into her room and use her phone to do my phone interviews.
Wow.
Yes. Mrs. Simmons, actually.
Did you keep any of those recorded?
I did not. I did not. You know, you was young, 18.
They're somewhere. I mean, they're somewhere. I mean, maybe you
sure.
should, you get time, find out. Yeah, it would be nice to have them because they're all recorded.
Right.
Because I'm sure they told you this is on a recorded line, blah, blah,
Correct.
blah. Yeah. Oh, wouldn't that be nice to find out?
That would be nice to hear the younger me.
The younger you. Yeah. And so, Charles, that's, that's amazing. I don't know that I would have that. Well, no, I've had, I guess I got some tenacity, but man, that had to be, pivotal. Did you cry?
I did cry. I did. It was an emotional night. Once you started to fully understand that at this point, this had nothing to do with you. You were setting a trend and setting a pace for the youngsters that's going to come behind you, or the little boy who wanted to be himself, or the little girl who wanted to be herself. Once I really understood what that really meant during that time, it became emotional.
You didn't even know you were trailblazer.
I did not. I really didn't.
You just wanted to say, I want to be who I am.
Yes.
And that's it.
And that's it. And that's it. I want to be who I am. I want to be accepted.
I'm going to ask you this question. It's not one of the questions that I ask you, but you don't have to answer it. Can you want to talk about your first experience dating, not sexually, but dating?
Well, my first experience dating.
I mean, that had to be. You get butterflies when you're just regular dating.
Right.
So when you've decided to come out, right, you're looking good, you're gorgeous, and you're dating the first time another man, right? What was that like?
It was natural.
Well,
it felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing with the person I'm supposed to be with, a man. I had the feelings for a man that I didn't have for a woman, the attraction and stuff like that. So it really felt natural. However, when that first started, I wasn't fully out. And of course, he wasn't fully out. So it wasn't that big fairy tale, I left my glass slipper at the ball type of relationship. But what it did was it let me know that this was what I was supposed to be doing. This felt natural.
Was that the guy that was more thug-like? You don't think I remember that stuff, right? Yeah. Was that him? No name calling, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he was handsome though. Yeah.
And that's my type. That is my type.
Yeah. He was a good-looking guy. Okay, so we're gonna move on from that. So when we met, because this is not about that. This is about you, claiming who you are, being a part of Black history that people probably don't know. Most people probably don't know, right? And so going to the prom in 2000, what year was that?
1999.
Oh, okay, 1999, in a red $350 dress in the middle of a white experience. That has got to be, that's like somebody going into a school all by themselves, Black, in a white neighborhood. That's the kind of walk it was.
It could be a lonely walk, but thank God I had supportive friends around me, at that time that kept me encouraged they didn't fully understand what I was going through internally.
Right.
But the fact that I knew I had them there for support, it meant a lot, and it really got me through.
That's wonderful. Let's talk about your club days. That's when I met you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and we all go through the club days.
Yes.
So when we met, you were going through life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were doing premier drag performances. Now, I must say that most of the time I saw you in scrubs.
Mm-hmm.
When we had long conversations in my office,
Yes.
either going to work or coming home from work. But I tell you, the night I saw you as Mrs. What is your drag name?
I am all Lady Charles. But
All
during
Lady.
that, yes, I was Anaria that night.
Anaria, yes.
Yeah.
I must say, you know, it really, I probably was the only one in the room with my mouth open because everybody else was kind of ready, right?
Right.
I just was not ready. I mean, we had a great time, but I just was not ready. But when did you decide to do that? I mean, I met you and we were doing AIDS awareness and advocacy, and but that was just one of the things, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Why were you? How did that happen?
Well, when I first moved to Miami, I was young, 21. I met a lot of great friends, and come to find out, a lot of them had HIV/AIDS already. It wasn't something that we talked about, but they just started dying back to back to back. And it was something that became close, near, and dear to me. I didn't know quite what I wanted to do. I didn't know quite how I wanted to do it. I didn't know when I was going to do it. But I know HIV/AIDS was something that I wanted to bring awareness to in our community, because I seen just in that short period of time how many lives was lost.
Yes.
And it was great people who I still think about to this day.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
And had you ever dressed in drag before you decided to do these premiere events?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I had dressed in drag and stuff like that, but I felt as though bringing awareness in a fun way, a light way on such a heavy topic would be good, because in the Black community, that's still a little hush hush. We don't talk about it. You know, if you have it, you don't say you have it, not knowing that you can save this next person's life that's sitting next to you, you know, by just talking about it and being open. But that's something that we need to work on in our community. And I was looking up that in the most recent I found, but it was in 2019, African American people made up 13% of the US population, but 42% of the 36,801 new HIV diagnoses, meaning that we made up almost half of the new diagnosis in 2019, and 11,493 of those were male. 3,812 of those were female. And I just feel like issues like this is what we need to bring awareness to, you know, in our community, so that we can get this down, so that we can educate the youngsters on the do's and the don'ts and be positive role models in their lives. I think we need to talk about HIV/AIDS affecting our community.
Yes.
Diabetes, hypertension, mental illness. These are just some of the things that we really need to start bringing awareness to our community, so that we can get that power, you know, because education is power.
I can't believe that people think it's gone away. Just because you don't talk about it doesn't mean it's, you know, it's not gone away. And I will say that when you're ready, I will be more than glad to help you put together anything that has to do with us advocating for HIV. When I worked where I worked, there were 3 gentlemen who were silent about their sexuality. And I actually had to go get their medication at the health department, because I guess somebody worked at the health department they knew, right? And as opposed to them not getting their medication, which I thought would have been just, you know, out of the question. We had to jump through many, many hoops to do that. But the problem is, and I don't know if it's better now, can you get your medication through the mail so like people don't know that you're?
Well, some people, some pharmacies do offer mail delivery medications, which is good so that people can, if they're not willing and ready to open up and share the information, this is the way that they can get their medication, because that's important. Getting your medication, getting on that regimen, eating a healthy diet, and doing what you have to do to keep those T cell counts up.
Yeah, I want, sometimes I think about those three gentlemen. I hope they are well. So when I met you, you had blue scrubs on. You were a home health aide, and you were sitting in my office, and you said, Miss Donna, I'm going to be a nurse. I was like, oh, that's a lot. I'm going to be a nurse. Okay, listen, I'm with you. What do I need to help you with? You said, I'm going to just take it in baby steps. So how did you get there? I know you were home health aide. Home health aide was kind of just something to get you through, right? You were still kind of partying and having a good time and really hadn't been focused on what your career was going to be. When did you wake up and say, and you always talked about it, but that was a process, because being an RN is not something you wake up and just do. That's hard work, right? So tell me when you went from home health aide to home health LPN?
CNA.
CNA to RN. Okay.
Well, I first originally got into healthcare because my grandmother, she was in healthcare. And I remember as a youngster, she would take me to the nursing homes and I would talk to the people and stuff and hear their stories. And that really got me captivated in long-term care. So I automatically knew once I finished school, that was something that I wanted to be a part of, something somehow helping people.
Yeah.
So I became a CNA. I was a CNA altogether for 14 years. But during some of that time, Lady Charles wasn't always well-to-do and well put together. As humans, I made my mistakes. And so when I was doing home health, that was part of the reason I was doing home health, because some people didn't want to give me that second chance, that second opportunity. So when I moved back home to DeLand, I remember I would go to the retirement centers, the trailer park homes, the retirement areas, and I would post signs that, advertisement, hey, I'm a home health aide, I'm a CNA, if you need your house clean, if you need someone to take care of you, advertising myself. And that's how I really got into that. And I did that for a few years when I first came home. Then when it got time for me, okay, I'm ready to get back to school, my background was an issue.
Yeah.
And that was a hard thing. I remember a lady told me one time, a counselor, a Black lady, which just took me there. But she said, maybe you're not meant to be a nurse. And I would never forget those words. And I swear sometimes I think about her, I just want to go by the job, see if she's still there, to say, I did it, baby. I'm there. 7 years strong now, But I pushed through and I got told no by a lot of schools. I mean, a lot of schools. And by the time I found the school that did accept me, I was beat, I was torn, and I had two people, Jolene and Richard, they would say, go try the school. I'm like, I'm just tired of people telling me no. I'm just tired of it, and you start to believe the naysayers and you start to believe the people that say maybe it's not possible. And then you get tired of being told no, because you get so excited and you're excited and your emotions running high just to get let down.
And then 30 days later, when your background comes through.
Yes, over and over. But Jolene and Richard pushed me really into putting my fears aside and going, giving this school a try. And it worked out. I think it was God's timing and everything worked out perfectly. So I became a nurse. Once I got in the program, I knew that it was important for my grades and my personality to speak for me, just in case that ever became an issue. So I stayed on the president's list. I stayed on the dean's list. I stayed on, honor academics and stuff like that, graduated as one of the top in the class. And I wanted my work and my personality to speak for me, just in case that ever became an issue. And it did 1 year in. But by that time, like I said, my grades were speaking for me, the school, the president, they all loved me. And I just think that it was all in God's timing.
When you think about those things that kept you from possibly becoming an RN, was it worth it?
You know, it was not. And it was not, but I was young, 18, 19, you know, smoking the weed and getting caught with it and boosting, honey, because that was a thing back then, honey. What you wearing to the club, I got you, you know. That was a thing, you know, and I hate to say it, and I hate to sound like a father leader, but that seemed like that was what was going on in this community. And
oh, well, listen, I used to sit there and they say, what do you need?
Right.
Listen, y'all, I gotta keep my job.
Right.
You want to coach? Miss Donna, what you want?
Yes.
You want to coach? You want to do Nia Burke? What you want?
What you want, we got you.
I got you. I said, la, I love you. No,
yes.
Can't do it. But yeah, that was the thing then.
That
right.
was the thing, and I got caught up in it, and it's nothing that I'm proud of, but it is something that I had to go through to make me be the strong person that I am.
So how much of an impact did your family have on your life? I know your grandmother was premier, but what about others? How are your relationships with your immediate family right now? I know it's good with the baby because the baby.
Oh, my Nadia is my world. My relationship with most of my immediate family is pretty good. You know, they're pretty accepting of everything. Like you said, Eunice, my grandma, that was my rock. You know, she raised me from the age of 6 when my mother was abducted. No questions about it. She just took me in and she raised me as her own. And I had jotted down, I just want to say, I remember when we was younger, how she would say things like, what would you do if I was dead? And as I got older, I began to realize that what she was telling me was that I need to learn how to figure things out on my own because I wasn't going to have her forever to run to. Or she would say, can't die when your mama had you, you know, meaning that I can accomplish anything that I put my mind to, you know, because the word can't die once I was born. And, you know, it was little things like that you know, that I didn't understand when I was younger, but I appreciate it now that I'm older.
So being gay, being a beautiful young man, tell me about the first time you knew you were straight up discriminated against as an RN.
Well, you know, I was reading that I have never really had a moment that I was discriminated against as a Black gay male.
Okay.
Or for my sexuality, you know, race or anything like that. Now, has it happened behind closed doors? It's a possibility, but you know, it was never nothing that was brought to my attention. You know, my grandma stayed on me when it came to being professional, you know, that she made sure that my appearance was right, my words was articulated right, you know, and how I presented myself to people was very important. And I knew as a Black male, not even gay, but as a 6'3" Black male, I had to work on toning down a little bit so that people wouldn't feel intimidated by me, you know. So I have had to do that in my professional life, but I think that was just something that I wanted to do because I didn't want that stereotype that when we say no, or we, you know, there's the Black person with the attitude. So I always have worked on that because, you know, I've been in management since I became a nurse, and 6 months as a nurse. Ever since then, I've been in management before I started traveling.
So listen, that doesn't come with any, that has nothing to do with you being gay, Black, 6'3". You know, if you're a female and you have anything to say that is aggressive or makes sense.
Yes.
Right. And you have to say it in a manner where, okay, listen, I need you guys to put your ears on because you're not listening.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you're in a meeting and you say something, they say, yeah. And then someone else turns around and says the same GD thing.
Yes.
And you're like, so anyway, that has nothing to do with it.
That's the next show,
Yeah,
Miss Donna.
that happens to us all the time. And so you are in management and COVID hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you say, I want to travel. How was that? Did you just wake up and say, this is, what I need to be doing? Or listen, I have lived a sheltered life.
Mm-hmm. For me, when it was time for me to travel, and when I finally made the decision to travel, it was 20. My cousin died in November of 2020. She was 31 years old. A few weeks later, I turned 40, and I
Oh my
started.
God.
Yes, honey. And I started doing some reflection during that time. I felt like I wasn't happy. I wasn't being fulfilled. And so I thought about, what do I want to do to make me happy? And at that time, I had worked my butt off to be in a DON position, something that I always have wanted, to be a director of nursing. And now I have this position and I should be happy, but I wasn't, and I wasn't fulfilled.
Right.
And so when the opportunity to travel came along, I jumped on it. But traveling has been the best thing for me. It gave me time away from everybody, away from family, away from friends, where I can reflect, where I can recenter myself and find the right direction for my life. I found out what made me happy again. Even like with the drag shows, I stopped doing that. The last one was 2016.
Wow.
A part of that was because I felt like I was depressed for years.
Yeah.
And it was something that you don't want to talk about. And then when my grandmother, my father's mom, died in 2018, it just took me to a low place so
that's the grandmother who died. I knew there was one. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I stalk you, you're
yeah,
right.
no, yeah. But that took me to such a low and dark place that I actually had to go and seek professional help. Okay. I had to go talk with someone. So during all that time, they gave me tools and things, but I don't feel as though I got to being me again until I started traveling and being away from everyone and really recentering my life and figuring out what makes me happy and what was going to be my next move.
Was your therapist melanin?
No, she was actually an older white lady, and I loved it. I really loved it. She kept it blood really sometimes. I was like, oh, hold on, something like. I feel like you crossed the line. You don't have the right to say that. Right. But it's the reality that I needed to hear. And it was unbiased. She was not keeping my feelings in place. She was telling me exactly what she felt as though I needed to hear.
How long were you in therapy?
I went there about 6 months. I actually started that because I was at work one day and I fell apart. I fell apart at work, and they took me over to the HR room, and they was like, oh, Charles, we have this program where you can go seek counseling and we'll pay for so many of the sessions and stuff. And that was life-saving. It was life-saving.
We as melanin people think that we can solve all our own problems.
Oh, yes.
That we don't have to seek therapy. Yes. Is therapy something that you believe that you're probably in and out of most of your life, or you're done?
No, I am definitely open to it again. And it's so funny about it because I was in such a low place. My grandmother, that's still here with me, said, you need to go talk to somebody. And so when I went to go talk to somebody, she said, you don't need nobody. But that just shows me how we think in our community, and it is okay to go seek help and to talk to people and get those feelings out. Depression is real and it's killing people every day.
Is there a safe space, a safe zone for the young people coming up today? Do they have mentors? Is your group of male friends, female friends who are in the LBGT community, are you mentoring younger people? Because it's got to be the hardest thing.
I mean, I personally don't have anyone that I'm
You don't have time.
yeah, mentor
Really?
right now. But am I open to it? I am definitely open to it, because a lot of my friends that were in Miami, those ones that died so young of HIV, was due to lack of support, lack of education, lack of stability. And a lot of their parents threw them out of the home at an early age. So what they had to do was go on the streets and learn things from the wrong people. So it's important that we make sure that we have positive people for these people, for the youngsters to grow up to and look up to, that we are doctors, that we are lawyers. We're running the world, honey.
Listen, I know.
We were behind the scenes, but now we're living at a time where people can truly be themselves in front of people, and people are really seeing how much of behind the scenes we were really running. I'm talking about in Hollywood, in sports, in music, in everyday forms of life that people have no idea to. There is some strong gay people behind this. Well, we ain't behind the scenes, but we're running the things now.
Well, the main choreographer for the NFL halftime is gay.
Mm-hmm.
He did a fabulous job.
A fabulous job.
He did a fabulous job.
A fabulous job.
And so anyway, I would like to just put it out there to you and your friends. Zoom is something that doesn't take a lot of your time, right? But if you all could open up a door, because I personally have two young ladies right now who are going through a hard time because they're raised in the church, right? They were on my usher board, and then, they see me out and they don't even want to say anything. I'm like, listen, it's not about me. It's about your life. I'm 67 years old. My clock is ticking. I want you to live the life that you want to, whatever it is, right? Whatever that is, because I certainly did. We're not talking about me, but anyway.
and then let me touch on that topic too, that I think churches are supposed to be a safe haven for people. A lot of gay people, we don't feel safe, we don't feel accepted, we don't feel loved, we don't feel wanted in our churches with people that we grew up with. And I think that is sad, that I have to go to a church where I want to go get the word, where I want to be refreshed, but I have to sit there like this the whole time, because it's like, oh my God, are they going to start gay bashing? Are they going to, and I'm not somebody that can hide. You're going to look over and say, oh, hey, we're right there.
All of a sudden they're going to find a passage that talks about how being gay is not good.
I remember my grandfather's wife passed, and we came to the funeral here in DeLand, and I was living in Miami at the time. For some reason, the eulogy for her funeral got flipped and turned to what I considered a gay and lesbian bashing. It was to the point where I literally took my phone out and I had to text my sister and like, girl, I cannot believe that this is going on. But that is something that you want to be in a place where you draw people to you. And a lot of times straight people don't understand why they will go to a gay club and hear gospel. We do that because we're not accepted in the churches. We do that because that's where we can go and get our word. We feel loved, we feel accepted. I remember the first time I walked into a gay bar at 16 and I was like, oh, I am home.
Oh.
I didn't even know what a sex on the beach was, but I wanted sex on the beach. But it's like, we need to create these safe havens for people. And it all has to do with educating ourselves, because people are afraid of the unknown. And that comes along with the LGBTQ community. They don't understand it. They don't understand how we're like this, why we're like this. So they automatically fear. And another thing that is important is that just like racism, homophobia is taught. So we need to work on that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have no idea why that would be. I don't know. Because I never had that issue. I I spent 20 years in DC. You can't have that issue, right?
Right. And then, you know what? When you're in bigger cities, it's
Yeah.
not as bad. Because when
Yeah.
I went to Miami, it was just, it's the norm. It's
Right.
accepted. It's everywhere. But it was hard. It's harder in little towns like DeLand, where everybody's in your business, where if you did anything, it's spread all over the whole neighborhood by the end of the day, and then they wonder why people are on the down low, while people are afraid to be out and let people know who they truly are because of the stigma, because of how people treat you different sometimes. And it's crazy, really, within our own community.
Yeah, the churches really need to work on it. I really do hate it when all of a sudden there's a passage that somebody wants to talk about when they see someone LBGTQ walk into the church. It's just ridiculous.
Yes.
I'm
But they ain't
hoping
talking.
that.
But what about the ushers and the usherettes that's sleeping with each other and the choir people? If you're going to talk about it, because sin is SIN and it's all the same if that's what you want to say, But it seems like they just want to harp on the gay community when it comes to Black churches.
Let me just say this. If you are introduced, if you are born, that is something that you have to accept in your life, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that we have to accept that we're, that aren't gay, right? I have to accept the fact that, we all have things, right?
Right.
That we have to accept about ourselves, regardless of what other people think.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Regardless of what other people think. And so I don't keep you all night on Valentine's Day. I know, you might have something to do afterwards. And listen, I'm just so glad to connect. We never disconnected.
Yes. I love you, Miss Donna.
We never disconnected.
Always.
Is there anything else that you want to share, Charles? You're so beautiful. You just be making me mad when I see your makeup. I'm like, dang, you need to come over here and give me a tutorial. Right?
Well, I definitely would like to say that I think open conversations are what is needed. I know that some of the people who grew up with me, because when I growed up, I was the only one by myself. I didn't have no guidance. I didn't have no one I could talk to. Like, girl, you going through this? I'm going through that. I had to figure this all out on my own. And I think that as a community, we need to learn to be accepting. We need to educate ourselves, not just on gay issues, lesbian issues, but on a whole bunch of issues that are affecting our community. And we need to stop the hush. It's things we don't talk about. We don't talk about rape. If somebody's molested as a child, it's just hush. It's things that we need to get out in our community that could save someone. So many teenagers commit suicide. And I think back on that 15-year-old boy, what if I had succumbed to those feelings and those emotions? Because at that time, being dead felt easier than going through life as a gay Black male to me, and we have to take that away because everyone is unique. Everyone brings a beautiful piece of color or something to this puzzle that we call life. We don't want an all green puzzle. We don't want an all blue. You want different colors, and that's what makes things beautiful, variety. And I just think that education is very important, and that's what we need to talk about in our community, educating ourselves on key issues.
I'm gonna ask you this, and I want you to answer it honestly. So I'm 20 years older than you, right? So when we met, was there anything I did that made you uncomfortable? And I don't know what that would have been, but
I loved you from day one. from the moment that I met you. You created a space of comfortability where I can come there. I've cried with you.
Yes.
I've laughed with you. I've told you things I haven't told other people, you know, and you just create an environment where people feel safe. And that's what I love so much about you. You allowed me to be me without me having to feel like, okay, I have to be Charles when I go in here. You know, I could come in there and be Romeo and just keep it raw with you and let you know. And that's what I love about you.
And that's what I want people to understand. You're not there to change people.
Oh, no.
You're not there to throw shade on people.
No.
You want to accept the person for who they are and try to help in any way that you can, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So, you know, I never ask you that. I don't know whether you walked in and I said, oh.
No. No.
But yeah, it was a great experience. I thank you for it.
Thank you.
Because being in your community taught me a lot about myself and about being accepted of, you know, now that I have LBGTQ in my family, you know, when they come to me, I'm like, all right, so what we gonna do?
And that's all. That's all we want. All we
you know,
want
what's
is
next?
love and respected. That's it.
What's next? What's next? So let's see if you have any questions. We're getting into the hour. If you have a question for Charles, you can open your mics now. We have about 5-10 minutes for anyone who has a question.
I don't have a question, but I do, because as I'm listening, I have a 17-year-old son who is openly gay. He loved the skin he's in, and I embrace it. But listening to Charles tell us about having someone to mentor or somewhere to go, someone to talk to, someone to help guide them, I think that would be something that would work and help the LGBTQ community and gay boys, because and I'm hearing how he went through different things, and I have my son who's doing it. He won Homecoming King for 2022. It was just so it touched me because he worked so hard to get where he wanted to be.
Absolutely, he worked hard.
A lot of Romeo. He reminds me of him a lot. But if they did have a place or someone they can talk to, like a big brother kind of thing, I think that would be something that would help him, because right now he's about to make decisions as far as school is concerned. So if he can have somebody that can help him, that understands him, I understand him, but I'm his mother.
Right.
And it's different hearing it from someone else. So if they can, you know, come together, or I can even help sit on that committee, whatever it may be, anything just for to have an environment for they can have someone that they can talk to that can relate.
Thank you so much. And Zoom is a really safe place because you don't have to really look at people, but are able to say what you want to say, right? So to everyone in this room who may be LBGTQ, you guys or you ladies, everybody could get together and kind of just come up with one day a month where you would have a conversation, and you can call it whatever you want, right? If you needed my Zoom link, I'd be glad to share it with you, because it's a cost, right? But it's a cost that I would be willing to just give a night to if you guys decided. And ladies, I hate guys when you just put everybody in the same. Ladies and gentlemen would like to do that. I'd be glad to make that happen.
And I think that would be definitely a great idea, you know, to have something or someone that they can call on, because when you're going through this feelings, you know, like I knew my grandma loved me, but I also knew that I couldn't talk to her about certain things, you know. I needed that person that had actually been through it, and I didn't have that. So for them to have that now, I think that is very important, and it's a great idea.
Well, Charles, I want you to give us a pearl of wisdom, and I want to make sure that you have all the ways to connect with me when we're ready to do the HIV advocacy I want to be a part of it. I like a pearl of wisdom from you right
All right. When I read that, I thought about it and stuff like that. So this is what I came up with. Okay. Perseverance and hard work always pay off. No matter how daunting a task may seem, know that you can do all things because can't died when your mama had you.
now.
And that comes from
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here
Thank
tonight.
y'all for
Thank
watching.
you, Charles. Thank
Love
you,
you,
everybody.
Charles.
Charles.
Love you,
Lady
Charles.
Love y'all.
Thank you. Love
Love
you.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you for being here. And I just have a,
Donna.
thank you, Charles. I will talk really, really soon. And thank you, everybody, for being on Zoom and on a fresh conversation. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.